Very, very warm welcome to you all. My name's Richard McCallum. I'm the director of the Solomon Academic Trust here, and we're just so grateful that you've all taken this opportunity to come to be with us. You've braved rail strikes and travel disruption. Thank you for those of you who are joining us online, even from around the world. I see Jordan there, represented by Muqtaz as well. So thanks for being with us. And it's great to know that we've got friends and supporters. Some of you have travelled with us for many years. This is actually our 15th year. And so we're taking opportunity to celebrate 15 years. And you'll hear a little bit more about that in a few moments. But we really appreciate what you contribute to us here as a community in many different ways. And this morning when we were praying together here in the centre, we were reading some verses from the first epistle of Peter. Peter was one of Jesus's disciples, an apostle, and he wrote this letter almost 2,000 years ago, and he described the church, the people of God, as being living stones built together in a spiritual building. And as I was looking around, I was looking at the old stones in this building, so it's no personal reference to any of you here at all, and I was thinking what a good image that was of living stones building this structure, being part of what's happening here. And community is very important for us here at the Centre for Muslim Christian Studies. And we count you as some of our living stones. The stones that go to make up the song school here are all different sizes and shapes, perform all sorts of different functions in the building, but they're all absolutely crucial to keeping the structure supported. And just in the same way, we value each one of you, our living stones, as you gather together and you support us. Community is very much part of what we want to do here at the Centre for Muslim Christian Studies. This is a project supported by the Solomon Academic Trust, which runs a couple of other projects I'll mention as we go through. But we're not really your usual interfaith initiative. We don't do interfaith dialogue per se. That happens as a byproduct. But really what we're trying to do is to develop a community of Christians and Muslims who come together, who want to do serious, rigorous academic study and teaching, digging into our two traditions and seeing how they interact. Yes, all the commonalities, but also not ignoring some of the differences and some of the difficult histories as well. So some honest academic, rigorous study. And you'll hear a little bit about what that entails as we go through this afternoon. So what we're going to do, we're going to be hearing a little bit about the last 15 years because it is our 15th birthday, and we're delighted that we've got, I think, pretty much all of our founders, maybe with the exception of John's wife Phil, who couldn't be with us, but David and Ida are with us, and they've been beavering away for the last few years in Houston, and they'll tell you a little bit, I'm sure, about our sister centre in Houston. John Chesworth is with us as well, and Martin, who I'm going to hand over to now, who's our academic dean here, but was also one of our founder members. So I'll hand over to Martin. Then we're going to hear a bit from Rana, Dr Rana Abu-Mounes, and we're going to hear about the project that she's been doing over the last 3 years. I'm going to say a little bit about the future and some of the exciting opportunities we've got and our current situation, and then you'll be pleased, it will be time for tea. And I even think that the weather's going to be nice and the sun is going to shine on us. So, Martin.
Afternoon, everyone, and hello those of you online. We're going to have to do a lot of using this seat so that people online can see what's going on. Well, as we've said, that the five of us who started this centre here virtually 15 years ago, 4 of us are here. Phil unfortunately couldn't make it today. Are each going to just say something brief, but I'm going to take you back before the last 15 years to what you could call prehistory rather than history, where many of you know that David, I hope you all know David Coffey was involved at the very beginning, but let me just tell you a quick story. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, David noticed a rather tired-looking student preparing for his finals as an undergraduate. That was me, and took me out for an Indian meal on lunchtime to encourage the process of revision. David has adjusted the direction of my life in 2 ways. You can decide which one was more significant. But at that meal, I'd been to Indian restaurants before, but I hadn't really quite got it, or maybe I'd not been to the right ones. And David, obviously being an expert, I know that the food is adapted for Britain, by the way, but David being an expert ordered, and I thought, this is fantastic. So ever since then, I've been on a different track. We didn't keep in direct touch, but we both kept in touch with the minister from the church, which we'd both been in for about 18 months. So a few years later, David rang me up out of the blue and said, do you remember me? Which I did. Let's meet. We went to an Indian restaurant, strangely enough, in London. And I think either then or very shortly after that conversation, we talked around future plans. And David said, why not do a PhD and we'll start a centre? And that was 30 years ago, give or take a week or two now. It was summer of 93. So that, if you like, is the prehistory. And lots of things have happened, a few PhDs along the way from different people. And 15 years ago, we ended up here. And the one thing I know, David, you're not going to want to be in the limelight too much, but two things I just want to add briefly. Number one is, I think you are a person of vision. They say someone of vision looks at what everyone else is looking at, but they see what others don't see. And I know it's one of your characteristics. You see things that aren't there yet so clearly, it's absolutely obvious to you that this is what should happen. And I've noticed in recent years, places we visited together, maybe even 20 years ago, they're now busy teaching in this area in whatever way they might. Maybe they've just got one person, which is exactly what you were saying to them 20 plus years ago. So I think that really is something that, and your kind of clarity in seeing something that doesn't necessarily yet exist has carried through, along with lots and lots of hard work by you, has carried us through. So there's one other thing I want to add, which is we know you've not been here for a long time because you've both been in Houston and you're often away. We know you've got a birthday in a couple of weeks' time, so you're due to take the seat next. So if you just come here now, David, because you're speaking next. But we do have something here just to mark that, which you and Ida can enjoy. And there is literally a cake with your name on it
Thank you
later
so much.
as well. Okay.
Thank you so much, Martin.
That's all I'll say.
Thank you so much. I could only parody King Lear in saying that as we did begin in Edinburgh, it was two young men and half a candle, one old jug with half a...
Edward Lear, not King.
Edward Lear, yes, thank you, I'm sorry. One old jug and half a handle. Our facilities were minimal in some ways. The mines at Edinburgh were excellent, and the teaching also. But I will say perhaps one of the best things I did was to call Martin under God's guidance. And he, along with Ida and others, have wonderfully led the center. And we have Richard, Rana. It's just been wonderful. Well, if I would say one thing, it was that the vision that God gave me was from the Lord. And Peter in Acts chapter 2 said, in the last days, your young men will have vision and your old men will dream dreams. I was young then, Martin was young. He's getting on, I'm now old at 80. So, but Peter said, in the last days, I think we're living close to the last days. Your young men will have vision and your old men will dream dreams. And that's been the story that I've prayed for the Center for Muslim and Christian Studies at Oxford and now at Houston. But we have an opportunity, and the vision, to me, was seeing Muslims and Christians studying together on many topics. And of course, my home is Bangladesh. Ami Bangladesh Pari Oshibir Hovina. Don't worry, I know you can't understand that. Someday, you in heaven, we know the language of heaven is Bengali. So you will understand. But I wanted to see my friends in Bangladesh understand about Jesus, and there's so much about Jesus in the Quran. Born of a virgin, Surah 19, so he could be sinless. 19:20, so he could become Messiah. Surah 3, two messianic titles, Surah 4, 171a and b. Kalimatuhu, God's word, or his word, literally, and his spirit, not the Holy Spirit, that's Ruhul Quds, but 1 Corinthians 14, Adam was a living soul, Christ a life-giving spirit. It was that way that I became to understand about Jesus, from the Quran, the short step to the New Testament. And I came to America, went back to Bangladesh, and I wanted that vision to be understood. Actually, I helped start a Bible college in Bangladesh before I got involved in academia along the Muslim and Christian enterprise. And it was a young student, young at that time, that actually gave me, your young men will have visions and your old men will dream dreams. I'm now old, but he gave me this vision. And it's taken from a poem, Bangladeshis, when you meet one Bangladeshi, you will meet a poet. Rabindranath Tagore, not all are that quality, but Shukanta was not far off. You'd meet another Bengali and we're all kind of poets. And Anwarul was a poet. He became my adopted son. And he said, quoting Shukanta in 1947, the news came from the child who was born. She has got the testimonial and she proclaims her message to the new world. We must make a place for her and move this wrecked and dead wasteland of this old earth, and leave we will. But I will go on clearing the debris with all of my strength from the face of this earth. And I will make this world habitable for this child. This is my firm pledge to the newborn. It's a beautiful poem written by a Muslim poet, Shukanta. And it was passed on to me by Anwar al-Azad, who he passed on in 2021 from COVID. But he has a lasting memory. He started 9 churches in Bangladesh. He helped Ida translate Genesis 1 through 11, and he was our academic director at ICL. But that vision, to me, sums up what Peter was saying. In the last days, your old men will have visions, and your young men will dream dreams. I have a vision. Martin Luther King said it as well. I have a vision. And that vision is to bring people to understanding about important theological topics. And that is what this center is about. And we're so thankful that you can be with us today to celebrate coming together for understanding about important theological difference, to make a difference on this old world, that we might be clearing the wasteland of this wretched earth, to make it a better place. Alhamdulillah, mashallah. Thank you.
Well, I think when we came here to Oxford, probably we all had different visions. When we arrived first, David and I here, and then David went off fundraising, so it was just me. We had no money, we had no premises, but we had the team, John and Phil, who were not in Oxford, Martin, who was not in Oxford, David, who was not in Oxford, me, who was sitting here some of you will remember, I was so lost in traumatic dissociation that I could hardly even go out of the house. But we had the team and we had the vision. So I had what I thought of a threefold vision. Nothing small. The first was the need to see proper teaching relating to Islam in every Christian theological college worldwide. And of course, one would add to that proper teaching relating to Christianity in every Islamic college worldwide. Although, that's for Muslims to do. So Rana and Motaz and others, you're going to pick it up and run with that side, bit by bit. The second was what I call letting the Bible loose on the Muslim-Christian interface, because it seemed to me that the Bible was so tied up in, we know what it means in our context, this is what we're teaching it, that very often people they didn't even feel free to read it. Most Muslims were not reading the Bible. Very few Muslim scholars were actually paying attention to the Bible. Very few Christians were given real thought to what the Bible had to say about relating to Islam and so on. And the third area was, because of the increasing connectedness of the world and the increasing number of Muslims in the West, really the need for interaction on the Muslim-Christian interface in every academic discipline. So where you have Christian and Muslim physicists sitting together in a secular physics department, they need to engage with each other, and they need to engage from their faith perspective with their colleagues and with their physics. So those were the three directions that I believe that God was wanting this centre to contribute to, in maybe a small way. I can remember saying to Martin way back before we came to Oxford, the things we're working on now, nobody knows why we're doing them. But in 20 years from now, people are going to actually want the books that we're writing. So people want to know about the history of Muslim views of the Bible now, Martin.
Good, I hope so.
20 years ago, they didn't. People were waiting for this Genesis 1 to 11 commentary to come out of Bangladesh, because it puts Genesis 1 to 11 in conversation with the Quran. When I was working on this 20, 30 years ago, or in this area, people were like, what on earth does that mean? Should you be doing it? I remember Christopher coming and examining my thesis on this subject. Thank you so much. I remember an Old Testament scholar who shall remain nameless saying, this woman should never have been allowed into a theology faculty to work on a PhD. Anyway, so little by little, we hope we've contributed to that vision. And I think everybody here would perhaps recognize that around the world, there are theological colleges that are taking more interest in teaching properly in relation to Islam. How much have we contributed? I don't know. But maybe we've planted a few seeds that have helped. Around the world, there are more people doing academic study on the Muslim-Christian interface. How much have we contributed? I don't know, but maybe we've planted a few seeds. And one of the things I'm really thrilled is meeting particularly younger scholars, say in the Middle East, like the ones that Motaz and I have the privilege to teach on some of our online courses out of Houston, who Muslims who are seriously doing some studies of this Muslim-Christian interface and thinking hard about how they teach people about Christianity. So we thank God.
John, thank you.
Well, the camera seems to be aimed at the right height for me. It's lovely to be here, and Phil sent her greetings and sorry she couldn't be with us, I was reflecting more on the beginnings, and Ida mentioned it, and I remembered the tiny basement room at St Stephen's House that Phil and Ida shared. I've had the privilege of using it as a place of residence for a week when I've taught courses, and it's tiny for a single bed, but it was even tinier for 2 office desks. And I also think of, I suppose Phil and I were the practical, in some ways hands-on, and you're all sitting on chairs that I personally put together. So that's an aspect of my memories of the very beginnings, of helping to get the place set up, and with Phil, particularly on the administration side, setting up a pattern that worked, I hope. I'm looking at the chairman at this point and he's nodding his head, so that's all right. But the other thing I was two other things I was very involved in was helping to establish the library. And that was based on, or started on, the books that we inherited from Vivian Stacey. But that also gave us the foundation of our first archival collection. So we're very grateful for Vivian's generosity at that point, but also to help establish a library, and I'm delighted Andrew, who has been busily cataloguing everything that's come in ever since, is an important part. But we also gathered a second archive from MICO, Middle Eastern Christian anyway, it's British Protestant mission agencies all work together. That archive still is being catalogued, but it's been used already. Various entries in the series I've been coordinating for the last 10 years are using information from that. So the resources are there and being used by academics. The other area, which I can see as something I started or was asked to start, was the seminar series, and I coordinated that for the first 4 years. And anyone who's had to run seminars knows how difficult it is finding people and persuading them, and everyone turning up on time and everything. But those, both the library and the seminar series, I think help to establish what the centre is about. Final comment, because of my African background, I was delighted that we've had a number of doctoral students spending time with us over the years from Africa. And I'm especially delighted that one of them is here, who's about to be awarded his doctorate in a month's time. So, working.
Thank you, Richard.
Well, thank you to you all for that interesting, fascinating, and even inspiring history. And I should say that we've gone on, we've expanded the team. John just mentioned Andrew Person, who volunteers in our library, but we also have Georgina Jardim is on our academic team, and Susan runs all of our administration and our functions like this. Anton helps us a day a week with our finance, and we're represented this afternoon, our trustees, Mark Oxbray, Carol, thanks for joining us. We've got other trustees that I've just missed. So it's great that the team has grown over the years. And one special member of the team over the last few years has been Rana. And Rana has been our Muslim Research Fellow for the last 3 years. She joined us in February 2020. I pause for the significance to sink in, because Rana, bless her, moved down from Scotland to Oxford. She knew nobody except the few of us here at the centre, and within 6 weeks we'd gone into lockdown, and she was locked into her flat for weeks on end. But through all of that time, she remained extraordinarily cheerful. She's been a great positive influence in the centre. We really enjoyed having her here. She's been looking at her native country of Jordan and looking at the water situation there, and particularly how the Christian and Muslim communities address that water crisis together. And she's going to come and tell us a little bit more about that now. But we're really delighted that even though we're saying farewell and Rana's time with us as a full-time member of our staff has drawn to an end, she will be with us for some weeks and months still. She's based in Scotland, actually, at the moment, just outside Dundee with her husband. But she's going to be finishing up some really encouraging writing projects coming out of the last 3 years of research. So there are going to be 2 special issues of a journal that came out of a conference that we ran last November called Faith Saving Water. And so there are going to be Christians and Muslims contributing journal articles there, which is the Journal of Comparative Islamic Study. And then there's also going to be a writing project. There's going to be an edited volume which will feature Rana's research project, and also drawing in 2 Jordanian Muslim scholars, and we hope 2 Jordanian Christian writers to write on the water situation with respect to faith in Jordan as well. So that's really exciting that Rana's going to be continuing to bring that to a completion with us over these next few weeks. But this afternoon we've asked Rana just to share a little bit of her experience, her research, what she's been finding as she's been looking at this issue of water in Jordan in the faith community. So Rana, do come and talk to us. There'll be a little bit of opportunity for us to ask some questions at the end as well. So be saving up those questions.
Welcome everybody. My name is Rana Abu-Mounes. I am originally Palestinian, lived most of my life in Jordan. I also will tell a short story that 10 years ago I met Dr. Martin in my college in Dundee. He came and gave a very interesting, inspiring seminar. And I was just about to start my PhD, and I was interested in the history of Muslim-Christian relations. My master's degree was about Muslim-Christian relations in Jerusalem, and I was about to, in the 19th century under the Ottoman rule, and I was about to start my PhD about Muslim-Christian relations in Damascus, also in the same period, which is the 19th century. So I was lucky enough to discuss my ideas with Dr. Martin, and became very excited to know that there is a center specialized in the history in the Muslim Christian studies in general. And then a couple of years later, he kindly invited me to come and to share my research with academic specialist community, and I came to Oxford in that time, and it was a great experience, not only because of the excellent feedback from a specialist in the field, but also to meet the team here and to find a very friendly environment, very conducive for such studies. And in that time, I really wished if I will be here and join them and be part of the team, and little to know that my wishes will come true. Few years later, after I finished my PhD, I remember possibly around 18, 19, I was having a discussion with my brother, who's a professor at the University of Jordan, and he was telling me that he is engaged in a project funded by GIZ, which is a German International Development Organization. That the project was about improving the efficiency of water use with collaboration with the religious authorities. And I had a very interesting, thought-provoking discussion with him about why this is important, why they want to work with the faith authorities, how can we just save water or reduce the shortage just with the faith. And I had lots of questions coming in my head. Luckily enough, just a few months later, I saw the advert for the center looking for a Muslim research fellow, and I found it might be the golden opportunity for me to take my ideas into a further step, and to join place will definitely help me to develop my ideas and shape it in a better way. Especially that I know from my previous visit to the center, and I already met Ida and Richard and Martin, that one of the, I think, very remarks of the center from a Muslim perspective, that it is a very open environment, allowing people to be themselves. So you are easily sharing your faith, or you are just acting from your faith perspective without feeling that you need to compromise or being judged. It's even encouraged to be yourself and for the better understanding, and to build bridges between the two communities. So I applied for the job, and I was and kindly I was offered. So I came in January, end of January 2020 or February, which is, as Richard mentioned, it was just a few weeks before the lockdown. I wasn't lucky really in the timing. Possibly if I came in less restricted time, it would be better. But I told them yesterday, I believe God just sent me to the best place where they can support me and take care of me, which is the center. So this is why maybe I came here in that time. They were really like a family to me. I felt very safe around people. I genuinely felt they care for me, besides supporting my academic progress and development. So if I will tell you more about the research, so when I started the research, I told you my brother, he was involved, and my brother, he's a professor in the Sharia faculty in Islamic studies. So all he and his colleagues were involved with the GIZ were Muslims. So I asked him if he's aware if the GIZ is also working with the Christian faith leaders, and he told me yes, they there's also some kind of collaboration with them. So I took it from there. So I wanted to investigate and explore the role of the faith leaders in raising the public awareness about water, what they are doing, both Muslims and Christians, what they are doing exactly, what themes they are focusing on, are they collaborating with each other, if yes, how, if no, why not, and what kind of what we can learn from this experience in Jordan. We can take it to any context anywhere in the world to enrich any community, faith community, Muslim and Christian, who wants to work in a shared goal, like environmental goal, whether it was floods, droughts, the plastic problem, any environmental issues. How can the faith community really add to the solution? When I look to the literature about the water crisis in Jordan, you find almost 100% of the studies done from engineering and geological perspective. It's almost, there is no research at all coming from faith perspective. There is some writing by the faith leaders about water, but there is no research to study what are these academic writing, which coming from a faith perspective, are like to evaluate it actually. So this is why I believe the research is really covering a very important gap in the literature and in the journey of reducing the impact of the water crisis in Jordan. I used my methodology in collecting the data was semi-structured interviewed. I interviewed Muslim and Christian faith leaders, and I used a questionnaire to reach to the Muslim and Christian religious studies students, and also I tried to analyze the content of their writings, their speeches, messages to the public. My research currently in the last stage of writing up, and as Richard mentioned, the hope it will come out as part of an edited book about water crisis, faith and water crisis in Jordan. And me and Georgina, we are working together to edit 2 special issues for a journal, where I'm also publishing an article about it, which all about faith and environment, like a focus on faith and water, especially. if I will, if I will share just, I don't know if I have time. To share just one of my findings, which is the theme, which the focus of Muslim and Christian faith leaders used to increase the public awareness. So if we are looking to the public discourse, the governmental discourse in tackling the water crisis in Jordan, they are two, they are under two titles, either the insufficiency of water or the mismanagement of water. So under the insufficiency, they are talking about that we have less renewable water resources. The demand is higher than the supply, and the very complex relationship and agreements when it comes to the transboundary nature of the Jordan water, surface water, which is either shared with between Jordan and Syria, or Jordan and Israel, or Jordan and Saudi Arabia. This is one of the discourse. The other discourse from the government is about the mismanagement, which is they are speaking about the poor infrastructure, lots of waste in the leakages, illegal wells and illegal connections, and so on and so forth. So when I'm looking to the themes which the faith leaders are looking at, first of all, there is a huge difference between Muslims and Christians. Muslims' messages normally are very practical, do and not to do. This is allowed and this is not allowed. This is halal and this is haram. You have to do 1, 2, 3 and avoid 1, 2, 3. Whereas the Christian message is mainly kind of more on the philosophy of the religion, or the creation, the values, that stewardship that God wants us to take care of. It's more about enriching the value system of the people, so they will decide, then they can, correct their behavior and deal better with God's creation, where in this case it is the water. So in the Christian messages, it is like that. There is no details. They are not speaking that about, they will speak about the insufficiency of water, but in a very general way. They give guidance also in a very general way. There is no mention at all about the excessive, for example, use of the water. They don't talk about the illegal connection. They will not speak about stealing water or this kind of stuff. They just speak about the values, how to be a good citizenship, doing the right thing everywhere. Whereas the Muslim messages, it is more detailed. So they speak about the insufficiency, about that we have less water coming, the demands. They speak about the doubling or sometimes tripling in the population because of the increase of the population by birth, and because of the refugees, continuous waves of refugees arriving to Jordan. So in the last decade, Jordan increased from 5 million to 10 million. So it is a huge jump in the demand in a very short time. So they speak, but at the same time, they don't speak at all about the idea of the transboundary, that part of the problem is the transboundary nature of the resources. So the Muslim faith leader, they don't talk about anything related to the relationship between Jordan and its neighboring country. They just deal with the problem as it is. When we come to the other discourse also, which is about the mismanagement, also they go to the most superficial part of it, which is the illegal connections and stealing water and this kind of stuff. They don't have a real criticism for the system itself, for the water companies or for the Ministry of Water. They don't have a real kind of critical review for the legal wells, for example, and these things, or the farming system in Jordan, which is in reality, this is one of the most the most important, how to call it, one of the most important factor behind the shortage in Jordan. Yes, in Jordan, the population increased, the water, fresh water, natural water is decreasing. But what is making the problem bigger problem is what they call it the shadow government, shadow state. So, which is kind of a parallel to the government. So there is the government and these kind of another powerful individuals, groups, sometimes, who are always in a kind of side by side by the government. So in order for the government to keep the country stable, they allow them to do what they want, like, so they don't apply on them the same what they apply on the 99% of the population. So those people, and these, what they call it, one of another writer called them, I'm just borrowing his concept, which is, he called it the shadow state. Those people, for example, they establish huge farms in the southern Jordan, which is considered a dry desert area, and they are pumping millions of cubic water in order to turn the desert into heaven. It became very green and lots, So, for example, nobody speaks about it, and nobody allowed to talk about it. The illegal wells, for example, those people they dig wells and they extract the underground water as they like. And when the government want to take an action, they will go to the wells of the just ordinary people, they confiscate it, they find them, but the huge problem, or like the size of these wells, which is under the influential people, nobody touch it. So when we are talking about the faith leader, so everybody knows the story. So when the faith leaders are coming and telling them about 1, 2, 3, people are not taking these messages really very seriously, because they feel they are turning a blind eye to the like more real problem. Why you are not talking about these things? So so this is one of the things which the research shows, that to improve or the efficiency or the impact of the faith leaders' messages, you need to speak about what the people are really dealing with directly, honestly. Don't just go around it and speak. Yes, people would love to always go with their own religious teaching and guidance and to do the right thing in the right time, but at the same time they want the equality and the social justice, that to have that this is applied on everybody, not only just on the certain segment of the society. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Rana. It's not always so easy for faith leaders to speak truth to power, and it's sometimes more difficult in some contexts than others. We do wish you well for the rest of this project. We're really looking forward to reading both the journal issues that come out and the edited volume. Georgina here is going to be writing towards those as well. Muttaz, who's with us online, is going to be contributing a chapter and an article as well. And so we wish you well in that. And we are still trying to raise some funds, actually, just to make this edited volume happen, and just to make sure that we can engage some of the Muslim and Christian authors in Jordan as well. So that's a funding project that's ongoing. And we have a lot of different opportunities and projects coming up. And as always, we're looking for funding for those things. But I just want to tell you about some of the exciting opportunities. As Rana moves on, we're very much hoping to engage another Muslim research fellow to be part of the community here. In fact, we're trying to think how we can fund a project that would bring both a Muslim and a Christian together to research a particular topic together here at the centre. We're thinking possibly something else around the whole issue of the environment, which is obviously very topical in the world today. Maybe something around political theology and how we share life and space together, maybe even something on artificial intelligence. But I think I was just programmed to tell you that. I can't remember. So lots of opportunities, but again, we're looking for some quite major funding to make that happen. We're also aware that some of us, David already alluded to having dreams as being an older man, and all of us are growing that little bit older, and we're thinking about, well, who's coming after us? And so at the end of this month, we're going to be running our first Next Generation conference, where we're bringing together Muslim and Christian academics who are just finishing up their PhDs, or they've recently finished their PhDs and are looking to continue in a career in Christian-Muslim relations from all sorts of different disciplines. And so we have over 20 scholars coming together. Some will be in person, some will be online, about half, I think, over the weekend, just at the end of this month and into the beginning of July. And so we're really excited about that. We're really looking to see who is going to be coming, getting the vision, and coming on to take this vision that Ida and others, David, have been talking about. We're very grateful. We got a little grant from the Alting Trust to be able to bring some scholars from overseas as well. So this is not all just UK. We'll have some people coming from Global South. There's somebody, at least one person flying in from America to join us as well, so that's exciting. And then later in the summer, we've got our 8th Muslim Christian Summer School. I think you're probably all aware that over the last few years, we've taken a residential week during the summer where we've brought together Muslim and Christians who are training for some sort of career and faith leadership together for this residential week, where they study together, do workshops together, read Quran and Bible together, really begin to dig and go deep. And we're delighted that we've now got over 100 alumni from our summer school, many of whom we're still in contact with, and we're looking for ways that we can keep that contact going. And one of the things that's happening is we're beginning to see seeds go out from this summer school to other places. So last year we had 2 students come from our sister centre in Ghana, from the Sane Institute in Accra, and Mujib and Kareem came and joined us here for the week, and we're just part of the summer school, and they've now taken something of the ethos back to Ghana, and we're excited to see what's going to grow there. They've already had their first couple of events of bringing Christians and Muslims together. It won't look exactly the same as our summer school, I hope, not least because they don't have summer in Ghana, I'm told. It's like the whole year is summer, so it's going to have to look contextualized for that particular place. I already mentioned that we'll have a couple of participants from CMCS Houston with us this summer, and so we're hoping that a seed will fly back to Houston and we will see some sort of summer school starting over there. And then just this morning, I heard that we got a small grant from the Tabil Trust for next year's summer school, and they've given us some money so that next year we can bring 2 students from some other part of the world. So we'll begin to think about what that's going to look like, but that's exciting to see it expand and go out to other places, possibly to Indonesia. Georgina, who's our overseas partnership coordinator, has been working with Ferry Mamahit, who some of you will remember spent a year with us, also sort of during COVID, actually. It was very productive, COVID. It was a great time for us. It took us online. We did all sorts of new things. And Ferry is working back in Java now. He's in talks with an Islamic State university, not Islamic State, but a state university that is a Muslim university, let's put it like that. And he's looking at signing an MOU to actually form some sort of Muslim Christian study centre that will actually be based in an Islamic university there in Java, which is very exciting. So who knows, maybe we'll be able to bring 2 students from there for next year's summer school. Thinking back at the ranch, our own academic work keeps going alongside all these other exciting opportunities. So we are still engaged in our own research, in publishing. Ida's already mentioned one of the books that was published. This is actually published by another project that comes under the Solomon Academic Trust that we do in partnership with the Langham Publishers. And it's going to be a whole series of Bible commentaries coming from an Islamic context. So that's an ongoing writing project that Ida's very involved with, along with others of us as well. But then Martin's working on the 2nd volume of his book on the history of Muslim views of the Bible, which is already mentioned. Just this week, I finally sent off my manuscript to Bloomsbury of my book on evangelical Christian responses to Islam. It's been a while in the making. And we're also working on journal papers and conferences. Georgina will be going to South Africa at the end of this month to give a paper at the very large conference of the Society of Biblical Literature that will be happening there. And we contribute other papers in other journals as well. So we really want to keep that depth of academic work going. And alongside that, producing our own publications. So I hope you will all have seen at different times our Hikmah study guides. You can find some at the back. They're there for purchase, but then they're also available for free online. I don't know if I should tell you that really. It's probably bad business, but there's an opportunity to make a donation when you download it online. So we now have 8 titles that have been published. The most recent, I think, was on Muhammad. There was one on Quran, law, Bible, some others as well you can check out. We have another 3 that are very close to publication as well, and then we're looking to work on more. And then John mentioned the very long-running seminar series where we've weekly during term time tried to give opportunity for Muslim academic, Christian researchers to come and present their work. And then every term, almost, we try to gather some of those papers together, some little summaries in what we call the CMCS research briefings. And again, you'll find some of these at the back. And again, you can purchase them or you can download them online as well. But all of this takes resources and capacity. It sounds like we're doing a lot of things, but there's actually very few of us who just spin a lot of plates. And we also need the financial resources to keep doing that. And we're actually at quite a precarious point. This is something that's happened quite regularly, I think, over the last 15 years, it would be fair to say, where we've faced quite a financial challenge. And that's the same situation today. We try and earn as much income as we can. So we do teaching for different universities and colleges. When we do training, we charge what we can for the groups that want to come and receive that training. Very often, though, we're actually working with people, for instance, in the summer school, who aren't actually able to pay a lot. So we don't want people to be excluded. So a lot of the time, we do actually have to go out and look for grant funding that will actually enable us to do the programs we want to do. And so we're very grateful to 20 or so trusts that have supported us over the last 15 years. Have made our different programs available. We're always looking for new trusts that might be interested in sponsoring something that's of this character. It's academic work on the Christian-Muslim interface. So if you ever know of trusts or indeed philanthropists that would be interested in this type of work, then do let us know. And we're very grateful to all of those who give very generously at a personal level to us, both large and small. And I know many of you here have given very generously over the years. I'm sure that quite a few of you will have heard that very sadly at the end of last year, we lost our most significant donor in the States who passed away very suddenly. So we actually are in a situation where we're losing quite a bit of our funding. A lot of that was offered as match funding. But the good news is that we do actually still have some match funding available to us. So just at the moment, we are looking to raise £80,000 to actually match a £40,000 offer. So we'll be thinking about how we can leverage that to see some more funding raised. But again, just to say, if you know people that would like to support our work, we would love to hear from you. We have literature that you can take away to pass on to those who you think might be interested. We would be delighted to travel to meet people, be very happy to come and talk to people. We could even give you a free pen to give to somebody that you think might be interested, if you think that would just clinch the deal as well. So yeah, just to say, spread the word. We're encouraged, but then we're also challenged. These are good times, but we know there are also some rocky moments as well. But we're very, very glad that we have a whole pile of living stones going through this with us. So again, just a very big thank you for traveling to be with us this afternoon. Thank you so much again for joining us online. I do hope you've been able to hear and get a sense of what's been going on. It's just been encouraging to hear the stories and to see really what God has been doing. We all work hard, but at the end of the day, this is God's work, and we rely on Him to help us to do it. So that's enough from me. Just to say now, then we're going to stop and to have tea.